2020 City Council meeting to order. Mary, please call the roll.
Mayor Walby.
Here.
Councilmember Aisha.
Here.
Councilmember Karen.
Here.
Councilmember Frederick.
Present.
Councilmember Rubino. Oh, I'm so sorry. Councilmember Rusi.
Present.
Councilmember Vitale. I apologize.
Here.
Quorum present.
Ron, why don't you put the flag on and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. I got a new flag for today.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to
the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under
God,
God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In compliance with Governor Whitmer's order and to protect the public health and the City Council, Monday, May 18, 2020 City Council meeting will be conducted virtually. If you have public comments, you can email our City Clerk, Mary Katowski. I will provide her email at marya@scsmi.net. You can also dial in to speak at 1-312-626-6799 with a meeting code of 885-0560-5346#. So you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to use that in a moment under item 3. We're still under item 2, which is proclamations and presentations. It doesn't show that we have any, but we did have, I think, Ron, we talked about someone from, I think Dawn from St. Clair Shores Baseball might come. Is that correct?
Yes. I think she's trying to dial in as we speak. So
Do we know if Dawn's on there?
don't.
If she would dial *9, it would raise her hand. We would be able to see it.
Let's see if we can get her to do that.
I don't see anyone at this point raising their hand on that. So maybe if Dawn pops in, we can get back to her. Okay, Ron?
Perfect. Perfect.
With that, we'll move to audience participation, 2 minutes on items on the agenda. Do we have any?
I have no emails.
We have one with 044.
They're now unmuted.
All righty.
I wish any of you would have the common sense and courage of a Wasso barber to realize the governor's orders do not pertain to any of us. And even if you want to honor her orders, I hope that many of you would realize there's a number of places in St. Clair Shores that could accommodate a live meeting with the so-called social distancing that the governor has declared. It's awkward as it is for you all to do these meetings. I would hope you realize it's even more awkward for residents to get their input. I hope you realize that since your virtual meeting, there's been very, 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 very few resident comments. Finally, or I don't know how much more time I have because I can't see the clock, does anyone else think that the mayor's new job does not pass the spell test? And is anyone willing to comment and to challenge how the new job is gotten now somehow more lucrative than the old job, even with less qualifications. It just seems to me that it is business and or politics as usual. I'll leave it at that. Hopefully we'll get some 5 minutes at the end of the meeting if I don't get cut off. This is ridiculous. You have many, many, many venues. I can think of 3 different auditoriums that would allow you to all be 6 feet apart,
Okay.
have audience 6 feet apart, have microphones. I mean, the kids use it for their play, have microphones that everyone can get at, and we could all see you live. Do you realize that your meetings are not live? Well, do you realize that when you ask that it's not live time?
Okay.
Does anyone realize that?
Yeah.
So you ask, has anyone got any questions, and you're done before it even catches up?
Sir, we're going to put you back on mute. You've had your 2 minutes, and we're hoping come June, first meeting in June, we will be back at City Council. Thank you. Anyone else?
I see no one else, no hands up right now. And I've received no emails on audience participation for agenda items.
No, another one popped up, Mary.
Okay, I'm moving back to the top.
401.
I think the 401 might be Dawn.
Okay. Well, her hand is up. Mary, can you unmute 401?
401 is unmuted.
Hello,
Hello.
this is Dawn Van Gampelair with St. Clair Shores Baseball Association.
Hi, Dawn.
I'm hoping I timed that correctly. This is the first time I've ever done this.
Yep, you're in good shape.
Wonderful. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for participating in what Lock St. Clair and St. Clair Shores Baseball Association has come up with to represent Coach Rubino, City Councilman also, obviously. We have put this event live on Facebook. We've had many people send in photos with their jerseys hanging and signs representing him. I have been noticing his family, I believe, is popping on there also. I know Candace has put something on her door and sent me the pictures of it. So on behalf of both of our youth baseball leagues, we want to say thank you. And if you guys could spread the word a little bit more, we'd love to get some more photos up on the Facebook page. At the end of the week, we are going to go ahead and compile all those into a short video. And I will hand that off to maybe Ron or somebody if there's something you guys wish to do with it. And we'd like to get a copy to the family also. I think that's it. If anybody has any other ideas or anything that we can spruce this, please feel free to send them my way. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, there will be lawn size signs, letters placed on my house on the corner of 12 and Harper. That's it. Just want to say thank you guys for everything that you do.
Well, Dawn, we want to thank you for doing that. I don't know if anyone else has got any comments.
I could say something, Mayor, just from a why we're doing this right now. Obviously, we all love Pete and we miss him. But yesterday would have been opening day baseball for the St. Clair Shores Baseball Softball Association. And Pete was one of those guys that always came to either throw out the first pitch or, grab a catcher's mitt. And many of you guys came, but Pete was always there. And he coached in actually both leagues, one of the few people that coach in both leagues. And I think both leagues are gonna miss him because he was a big proponent of youth sports and especially baseball. So I think that's why both leagues got together, and you're going to see jerseys on people's front doors all over the city. I think it's for the rest of this week. And I think we'll be anxious to see, Dawn, what you guys compile after you go around and take some pictures. So Thanks to both leagues, St. Clair Shores Baseball Softball Association and the Lock St. Clair League. That's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Right, and I just, echo your remarks, Ron, and appreciate Dawn spearheading it. And as we all know, Pete loved baseball, coached his son consistently through the years. I believe even coached him last year. And so a great way to honor Pete. And again, something he actually truly loved to do. Grew up playing baseball and loved to coach. So, Dawn, thank you so much for organizing a wonderful tribute to Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem Pete Rubino. So thank you. With that,
there is one more hand up.
Okay.
Last three digits for 1.
401.
I just wanted to say thank you. Sorry.
It's Dawn. Yep, she was under proclamations and presentations. So, okay, thank you so much, Dawn.
Have a great night, you guys. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Mary, I don't see any more.
Nor do I.
With that, we'll move to item 4, which is the selection of the Mayor Pro Tem.
I would move that we make Pete Asia Mayor Pro Tem to fill out Mr. Rubino's time.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Kieran. Mr. Asia actually was prior to Mr. Rubino being the Mayor Pro Tem. And Mary, can you unmute Pete too? And so it seemed a little bit fitting that he could just take over and fill in the rest of Mr. Rubino's term. And Mr. Asia, you're good with that?
I'm good with it. Thank you for the opportunity, and it's an honor to follow in Pete's footsteps.
So motion made by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Kieran, to make Pete Asia the Mayor Pro Tem for the rest of the year ending on November 16th, 2020. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Kieran?
Aye.
Ms. Rusi?
Aye.
Mr. Vitale?
Aye.
Mr. Asia?
Aye.
Walby votes aye, 6-0. It obviously is a tough situation to do after this. Unfortunately, we were required to do it, but actually wasn't easy to do it. Thank you. Item 5 is the appointment of city representative. That is me, who with my new position can no longer serve on SEMSD, SMDA, and I will abstain from that vote too. I think we make it all in one vote. We can. Ms. Rusi?
Okay, I would motion for Councilman Kieran to take these appointments. First and foremost, he's expressed a willingness to do so and to take on the extra work and attend the meetings and to learn the new role. He has had and expressed longstanding interest in the affairs of these authorities, and he wants to make sure that they continue to be run with transparency and accountability, just like he has over the years. Reading the minutes, reading the materials, and paying attention to what's going on. And he's an engineer, so I think he's uniquely qualified to understand the issues and can contribute to the authorities in his capacity as an engineer too. So I would motion for John Kieran to become our voting delegates to both these authorities.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vitale. Seeing no questions, move to make John Kieran SMDA and SMESD representative for St. Clair Shores. Ms. Rusi?
Aye.
Mr. Vitale?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Asia?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
I abstain, so it's 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
John has always asked the questions up there, so I think it'll be a great fit. Item 6 is bids, contracts, purchase orders, request award, emergency flood control and blanket purchase orders, open 4/28/20. Mr. Koppler?
We're going to have Bill Gamble take this.
Okay. Hey, Bill.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is predicting a potential high water level this July that is 2 inches higher than the record high last year. Since the high water last year, city residents have responded, building up their properties. Last year, the city intervened on only 14 properties, which is a testament to the amount of work St. Clair Shores waterfront residents have done to keep lake water from traveling through their properties. Unfortunately, some properties require more extensive work be performed to contain flooding. Today was a good example of that. The lake was just 1 inch below the record high last year, and that combined with the easterly winds led to some flooding today. The purpose of this council item is to add sandbagging capacity to help protect the right-of-way, the mechanically pumped storm system, and properties. It is recommended to award the lowest qualified bidder landscape services based on their labor rate. The contractor will use DPW created sandbags. So thank you. With that, I'll take any questions council may have.
So can you, so this is a blanket purchase order, right, Bill?
Correct. So it's based on rates. So, I mean, for example, last year in late June is when we kind of saw the first high water event. The hope was to kind of have this in place for days like today. DPW responded, but there's some properties that kind of have more extensive work to be done that need kind of to extend berms, things like that, that require much more labor intensive and you know, kind of, we need some assistance with some of these properties.
Okay. So you're allocating 15,000?
So this was based on kind of an estimate from last year with we had to bill property owners close to 17,000. It's really a guess though, in terms of, you know, how many high water events we're going to have like today. Yeah. So it's something that if we have, you know, 10 of these before the end of June, we would come back. But it was just to kind of give kind of a cap to kind of a starting point, and then we'd come back to council if we needed more assistance.
I was out today, and I'm asking the questions of the money, and just the rest of council. I don't know if other members were out and saw this, because I'm concerned that the money may not be enough. I was on Poplar Beach today. I was on Beach Street today. The Poplar Beach and Gordon Switch, the home there, we did last year. It was 10 times worse. 10 times worse. It was to maybe your knee, your thigh in the backyard. It was bad. Beach was bad. So I guess I just want to make sure that the city makes sure that if there isn't enough money, that we immediately come to that next meeting and request more, because I think we're going to need more. It's bad. I got another call. Corberg has got issues down there. So the street on Beach, it was flooded all the way down the street. I don't know, 12 houses, 6 or 7 on each side, and it was coming from 1 and 2 homes. So it's significant. Those waves were really tough today. So that was my only comment, that it's hard to gauge the money. I get that, Bill. We just got to be, if we're starting to get low here, we have got to come back and request immediately so that we're able to take care of this, because it's bad, especially you saw it on Poplar and Gordon Switch.
Yes. And I think last year the approach was kind of do the minimum possible to kind of, but some of these properties need more work done. That, you know, and it just seems like, like some need an actual berm across it, and just kind of putting up a small sandbag crib on each side, and then it finds another way to get through. And some of these do need more substantial improvements done.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Rusi.
Thank you. So with this is work that would be done like it was last year on private properties, correct?
Correct.
And then billed to the private property owners. So the money that is it spent out of the high water emergency account to pay for this would then be returned after the property owner remits the money to the city, correct?
Correct.
So it's like a revolving fund, basically.
Correct.
Okay. How is the determination made? I read the letter that was sent to the property owners. How is the determination made about what properties we take action on? Is it complaint driven? Is it inspections? Is it from driving around and noticing where the issues are? How do we determine what properties we're going to take action on and put the sandbags there and then build a property owner?
So it's been a combination of all of the above, but if water is flowing through a property and it's determined, for example, we had a storm event back in January, and water was flowing through a property during that storm event. So one of the things was checking those properties again when we had the easterly winds, and then we also had the rain. So it's kind of, and each storm's different. So I don't think, we just kind of check the ones that we know we've had issues with, and then we collect the new ones as well. And like you said, everyone's received letters to know they need to do things, but some properties are kind of repeat offenders, and that's the ones we really need to address.
Okay, do we give people any sort of additional notice before we take action and put the sandbags there to allow them time to sandbag themselves? I'm just trying to get more information out there about the process.
So for example, the ones back in January, we were giving them a 3-day, at some point, it was back in March, we started giving them like 3-day notices stating that if the problem isn't corrected, we would go on the property. They've also received that in the mail, but we were redundant with that, kind of letting them know that it's something that could be coming very soon because water keeps going up.
Right. So we've given generalized notices to people on the lake and on canals and things, but we also give directed notices to properties in addition to that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Asher.
Yes, why not just double the amount of money to use for now? We hate to get caught with our pants down. This way, if we need it, we need it. And we're not, waiting for a meeting to get more money.
I think given what happened today, I was hoping that it wouldn't happen this soon, but that is something that would help considering that we saw what happened today.
Yeah, just put a $30,000 number on it. And if we need more after that, you can come to us and ask, but at least you'll have the money to work with. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vitale.
Wouldn't the city manager have the authority to go up another $10,000? We wouldn't really have to wait for a meeting.
Right. He does.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we like to do it in a more planned approach and have permission up in advance, but we can do that.
And I wasn't just pushing the more money. I guess I was, I was just, it was so obvious today. I was concerned, right? And seeing homes, I was very much concerned that, and maybe at the end of the day, it'll only be a handful of them. It won't be as bad as I thought. But what I saw today made me a little bit nervous of what was happening. And of course, it had the high winds today, but it was flooding. Ms. Rusi?
What currently is the amount in the high water emergency account that's cited in the memo? How much money is currently available?
So that was an account kept to keep track of the spend for high water. I don't think there was I have to ask Laura if she budgeted a certain amount in there.
Okay, I was just curious. Where I would, I guess, propose doing is we approve as written. We know the city manager can increase it by 10 grand in an emergency, and he also has powers in an emergency to spend money in addition to that if it meets the ordinance requirements of emergency, and report back at the next meeting what was done in between these weeks, and then we can approve more if we are in that situation. But I think having an ongoing accounting of what's being allocated and spent, I think would help us with the planning here, and, you know, help us make decisions and know if we have to approve more. But in the event some unforeseen emergency does come up, Mr. Koppler does have the powers to expend that money and get the work done under the emergency ordinance and the general purchasing ordinance as well, in the event something extraordinary does happen.
Ms. Rusi, did you make that motion?
Yeah, I think that sounds like a motion. Mary can clean that up. But I would motion to approve it as written with administration to report back on at every meeting or on a monthly basis where we're at, and with the understanding that we might have to allocate more funds this way. Ongoing reports to council.
There's support. There's no support for that motion.
I wasted all those words for nothing.
Mr. Karen?
Kind of along what Councilman Asha was saying in terms of, I was actually even just thinking just switching the amounts. You know, put 30,000 on the fiscal 2020, 15 for next year. It's going to be expended as needed in that, so it's not like we're just handing over a check to a company in that. So as properties need it, they're going to be sent out to go do it, and they're going to bill us back, and it'll go against the blanket purchase order. So, and just to be safe, because this is, you know, if things are going to peak, it'll peak in July. Hopefully it does not go to the high range of what the Army Corps of Engineers is saying, which would be a record. If it goes at what their median one is, it should be 4 inches below what we hit last year, but you don't know. So I would move to approve both blanket purchase orders, for one for fiscal year 2020, one for fiscal year 2021, each for $30,000.
I would support that.
Questions? Ms. Rusi?
Thanks. And can we get ongoing reports regardless, just so we can track this?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kieran, supported by Mr. Asha, for the blanket purchase orders up to $30,000 for 2020 and $30,000 for 2021. Mr. Kieran.
Aye.
Mr. Asha.
Aye.
Ms. Rusi.
Aye.
Mr. Vitale.
No.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Welby votes aye, 5-1. Thank you. 6B is a request to award water main replacement program bids 5520, Division 1, California. Go to Mac DeMarter.
I can't even see this.
Is Mr. Ray's handing that, or Mr. Babcock?
Trace.
Mr. Ray's. Mary, you'll have to unmute him.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the last of the major capital projects that are being bid out for this year for roads and water main. There's 4 that were bid out and opened on May the 5th. The first one being on California between Mac and Martyr. The low bidder qualified his bid because there's time constraints in there, and he shows up later that he cannot meet the time constraints for the 2 sections on California. So the next low bidder with an unqualified bid would be for Paymar Enterprises to do a pipe bursting project on that section for $973,150.50. And Paymar is also the one that we awarded contracts to for Hughes and Bestie this year.
Thank to do all the work, Chris?
I'm sorry,
You have the manpower to get all the work done?
they do.
Questions? Mr. Karen?
Thank you. Matt, it kind of goes for all these projects. I had a question that I posed to you guys regarding the status of the utility fund with the infrastructure spending that we've been doing, the loss of storm sewer charges that we are not charging at this point, as well as the most recent settlement. Could you just give everyone a rundown of what we talked about today?
Sure.
Of the status of basically where we think we'll be at a fund balance at the end of next year with all these projects being included?
Yeah, so right now in the proposed budget for fiscal year 21, based upon what was budgeted for these projects, we would end up, if we spent everything, with a working capital balance of about $7.6 million. Now, that does not include the 3.45 that we're paying as part of the stormwater settlement. So that takes us down to approximately $4 million when all is said and done with that. However, a couple things usually happen. One, we don't spend every dollar within the utility fund. Second, the award of these projects tonight, I just did some quick math. What we budgeted was approximately $3.9 million for these projects. And we're going to end up spending about as prepared for tonight, we would spend about 3.49. So there'd actually be another $450,000 added to the fund balance if those projects go as they're being awarded tonight.
Okay.
So I think, again, we'll have about $4.5-ish million said and done, maybe a little bit more. I think in not going forward with these projects, a couple of reasons that we should be very considerate of, that we should go forward with them. One is we put projects off. Odds are in future years, when we do them, they're going to cost us more because we do see that inflationary cost usually. Second, the California project especially, we do have a considerable number of lead lines. And as far as we know today, the state is not waiving the requirements that we have to meet the replacement of 7% of the lead lines per year. So this project, especially on California in both divisions, get us closer to that so we can meet the requirements.
Okay. Thank you for that, because that was one thing I was very concerned about in terms of funding the projects for next year, but we still have an adequate balance in that fund going forward. So that's good to have. And especially your point on the lead lines on probably this project, I didn't add them up, but probably about 35, 40 homes in California that have the lead lines will have their houses replaced as a part of this project, roughly.
Yeah,
Between
which is a good chunk.
Californias, it's about 85.
85? Yeah, so that's a good chunk of what we need to get done.
Yep.
As part of that project. So that's good. And also, I do appreciate, Fontana being, even though they're the low bidder, saying we can't meet your timing requirements and being upfront about that. I think that's very respectable for them. So that's it. Thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Vitale?
Chris, what would the timing look like between the Kmart's work on Bestie Street and this new project going forward? Would they complete one before the other?
Not necessarily, no. They'd have two crews. And they're planning, actually, they're going to be starting on in Bestie with trees tomorrow, and then starting with the pipe bursting on those projects. And these ones would start the first part of June.
In the water main, this would begin on California first?
Correct. The two on California had the priority because they have to be done before school opens in the fall, assuming school's going to be open in the fall.
So they're going to begin after Bestie Street?
Yes.
I guess my concern is that we're turning another project over, and I want to be some assurance, I guess, that it's a good company, that, they accomplished the work on Bestie Street. Don't leave two half-done projects.
Well, we worked with them last year, as you know, on Visna and Engelhart, and then we added a whole nother section to Engelhart, including the water main. And if we didn't get an early snow, they would have gotten it all done before the end of the season. So they have the manpower and the ability to get it done. I really don't have a concern with them based on their track record last year.
Okay.
I would move to approve.
I will support.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Vitale.
Asia.
Mr. Isha.
Sorry, writing. Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Asher to award it to Palmar Enterprises for Division 1 of California, the amount of $973,150.50. Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Asher,
Aye.
Ms. Rusi,
Aye.
Mr. Karen,
Aye.
Mr. Vitale,
Aye.
all be votes. California, Greater Mac to Harper.
Okay, so this, the same background pretty much with the same bidders. Fontana is not going to, the low bidder, but we're not recommending them based on schedule. The low bidder on this one is Bidigary Construction in the amount of $731,998. I don't recall that we've worked with them before, but our engineers have, and they are recommending them and feel that they're a very good contract. So this section, DPW lists 29 potential lead lead lines that we'll be working on.
Questions by Mr. Asher.
Yeah, Chris, you said Bredigear was low at 777.
731,998.
As I'm looking at their bid, they're $1 million. I can hardly see it. It looks like $1,017,000.
That's the other section, Councilman. That section.
Okay. All right. Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I was just curious about it. Motion to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Asher, supported by Mr. Karen. With a question by Mr. Vitale.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Moved by Mr. Asher, supported by Mr. Karen. Approve the Division 2 California Greater Mac to Harper in the amount of $731,998. Mr. Asher?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Ms. Rusi?
Aye.
Mr. Vitale?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Bobby votes aye. 0. Item 363 is Elmira Street.
Okay, so this section and the next one are both being recommended to Fontana. Based on their schedule, they feel they can accomplish both these projects. This section on Elmira between Greater Mac and Jefferson is in the amount of $415,556.50.
Questions?
We list 6 potential lead lead lines on this section of
What was their start date? We know? Mayor, sorry.
the exact start date I don't have yet from them. It'll probably be sometime around July.
Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to ask a similar question. How far off is this deadline that they can feel they can meet it and we can be confident that they can, given their apprehensions expressed about the earlier 2 projects?
Right, they're working currently out in Orion Township, and they believe they'll be out there through the end of June to complete that project. So depending on weather and whatnot, soon after that.
Okay, and we'll have protections in the contract, of course, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Move to approve.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Feather, supported by Mr. Asha, to award the Elmira Greater Mac to Jefferson to Fontana in the amount of $415,556. Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Asha?
Aye.
Mr. Vitale,
Aye.
Ms. Ruthie,
Aye.
Mr. Karen,
Aye.
Bobby votes aye, 6-0. Item 6. For Rosedale, Greater Mac to Harper.
Okay, so this one is also being recommended to Fontana in the amount of $685,708.50. Actually, just as a clarification, I looked at Rosedale as one of the numbers and not California. So this is the largest one with 42 potential lead lead lines on it. California in total would have 45. So I misspoke when Mr. Karen asked about it. So Rosedale has 42 potential lead lines on it. And this is Rosedale from Harper to Greater Mac.
Question?
So,
Karen.
So I guess Chris and Matt on this more into financing. So we've got about 100 lines between these 4 projects. If we end up qualifying for the revolving fund loan, which we would hope at some point we'd get potential forgiveness on, would we be able to potentially put that forgiveness on these projects or just on the individual replacements?
Yeah, we can't go back in time. It would be prospective once we get awarded the grant.
Okay, but this at least gets us ahead of the 7% requirement every year once we got notified.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So move to approve.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Frederick. Let's award the bid to Fontana Brothers in the amount of $685,708.50. Mr. Karen,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Ms. Ruth,
Aye.
Mr. Vitale,
Aye.
Mr. Asha,
Aye.
and Wally votes aye.
Thank you very much.
Item 6C is the request to purchase DPW pickup trucks. DPW Director Brian Babcock.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening. This item is to purchase 2 pickup trucks for use by the Department of Public Works, both in the sewer and water department. The purchase would be made out of the utility fund for their use. We did get bid proposals from both the Macomb County Purchasing Cooperative as well as the Oakland County Purchasing Cooperative. And we are recommending we go with the Macomb County purchasing price that is lower of the 2. And I've just mentioned typically we try to purchase trucks that will have replaced some older trucks. This year with the new orders of, staying separate in the workplace, we anticipate keeping these trucks as well as the older ones because it's getting to be difficult to have everybody in their own vehicles. So. And then when the time comes, we would, auction off the older 2 vehicles.
Question. Ms. Rusi.
Thank you. Why were these 2 vehicles chosen? I know both are 4 years old. One has 33,000 miles. One has 49,000 miles. They both indicate they're in good condition, and we don't have any sort of records of a lot of work repairs being done, issues with them. These trucks sound like, from the limited information we have, that they're in pretty good shape. Why are we seeking to replace these out of the department, or for now at least, given the temporary orders and mandates?
Yeah, absolutely. The trucks that we are looking to replace are in great shape. They are approximately 4 years old, and those trucks are going to be transferred to other departments such as the Parks Department and Streets Department to essentially replace a much older truck. Once the governor's orders are lifted and we can have multiple employees in vehicles, there will be 2 older vehicles that we'll be able to auction off.
See, and that would be good information to have about the vehicles we're seeking to replace too. We don't have that, in terms of making a case to justify these purchases. Yes, they're budget. Yes, this did come under budget, but in these times where we have no clue what's going to happen when we have, purchases, I think should be justified a little bit more strongly in terms of the information we're receiving, because it's hard to spend these dollars when we don't know what the economic situation is going to be in the shorter, long-term future due to unanticipated issues at the time we made this budget.
Yeah, and I normally I would have included that information. I guess, like I said, this time we're going to have to keep all of our vehicles because of keeping our employees separated. So that's why I didn't include it. But I can absolutely provide that information on what trucks would be going if you'd like that.
I think that would be useful. I would like to have that information. I just don't see if the only justification right now that I have in front of me is we want to comply with the temporary executive order. I'm not sure that justifies buying 2 brand new vehicles for that.
Yeah, no, that's not the reason for buying 2 new vehicles.
Thank you.
Mr. Vitale.
Oh, he's muted.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Basically, everything that Councilwoman Rusi said is exactly what I was thinking. I mean, I don't know what vehicle we're ultimately replacing, so I don't know what kind of condition, what the justification is. And I certainly can't justify $70,000 in the face of what this same pandemic is going to do to our budget. So I'd have to see further justification of this, and certainly not for a temporary order.
Yeah, when we did submit this for the budget, there are some capital justification sheets that were submitted, and in those it talked about the vehicles that were replaced. But
I would have put those in this request.
Okay.
I guess I'd say to Mr. Babcock and Mr. Koppler, I mean, there's not a motion there, but I think to make us feel more comfortable here, I think we need more detail, quite frankly, to justify that. And I'm not saying you don't have it. It appears you do. And I think, in my opinion, not a necessity here that we do at this meeting, but it's just a thought.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Frederick.
Would Mr. Bowman know offhand which vehicles are his oldest vehicles? I'm sure
I do.
He probably doesn't have that info right at his fingertips.
He may not, but I do have a list of his vehicles. There he still has. There's a 2007 in his fleet, 95, a 2002, 2007. So there are some quite a bit older vehicles in his fleet.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, what is the?
I would move to approve, and reason being is that we've got it budgeted, and I know that it's going to be a tough budget year coming into 2021, but I would move to approve because I'm seeing that we're going to need more, especially with all the water stuff going on as well. So
I agree with Mr. Fredericks. I second the motion.
By Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Action, questioned by Mr. Vitale.
We have other departments in this city that are doing without any capital the next upcoming budget. And we've kept this fleet young in the city. We don't have a bunch of old trucks. What we have in parks is needed for pretty light duty work, moving garbage cans around and things like that. I would like to see what pricing looks like post-COVID. I think there's going to be a lot of inventory needs to get moved. So I won't be voting yes on this. I'll be voting no.
And I'm gonna vote no, because I'd like to see more information, and I think that can wait till the next meeting. I'm not opposed, but I need to understand it a little bit more before I vote yes. Mr. Frederick again?
Yep. So Chris, you're thinking that there's going to be better pricing after everybody gets back to work, and I know there's a lot of, John, you probably would have some insight on this too. So you're thinking that the current pricing that we get is going to be higher than what we would be able to get going forward, at least short term?
Councilman Vitale's had the question, so we're asking him or me?
Oh, both of you. You're both in the automotive business, so.
Actually, with the way these are bidded out, I don't think you're going to see a change in the price anytime soon because we're using a consortium bid. So until the consortium rebids it, you're not going to see a change in any prices the way we do it.
Okay.
So maybe perhaps we table this, Brian can actually find out maybe neither consortium are rebidding it, so you can get updated pricing to see what kind of the post downturn pricing may be.
I might say this is an opportunity to maybe go out and see if we can beat that pricing.
Well, John, are you moving the table? If you are, I'll support it. Just
move the table.
Support.
Motion to table made by Mr. Karen, supported by Mr. Frederick. There's no more discussion. Mr. On the fleet purchase, Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Ms. Rusi?
Aye.
Mr. Vitale?
Aye.
Mr. Asha?
No.
All these 5-1 to table. So we can get it back to the next meeting, Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 60, approve the extension agreement for the animal control services with Macomb County. Koppler or Chief Woodcox?
I'll take it. Macomb County notified us they'd like to extend the extended current agreement that we had with them. Same cost, same conditions as before.
Move to approve.
Oh, moved by Mr. Karen. There's a question supported by
Or
Ms. Rusi. With a question by Ms. Rusi.
no question, just a statement. I think the extension right now made sense for the same reason the extension on some of our union contracts at this time made sense. It's not the right time to facilitate good negotiations on both sides. So I think the extension made sense to allow that to happen. So thank you for handling this, Matt and Todd.
You're welcome.
Moved by Mr. Karen, supported by Ms. Rusi to extend the animal control services December 31st, 2020, the amount of $44,000. Mr. Karen.
Aye.
Ms. Rusi.
Aye.
Mr. Asha.
Aye.
Mr. Vitale.
Aye.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Votes aye, 6-0. Thank you. Agenda.
Move to approve.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Frederick. Consent agenda. Mr. Karen.
Aye.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Ms. Rusi.
Aye.
Mr. Asha.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Walby votes aye. 6-0. Item 8, updates and follow-ups from the council meeting. Matt Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have sent out all the updates from the last council meeting. See if there are any that call out. I don't know if there's any questions from what we've sent out thus far. One of them, we did send out the agreements with the 3 uniform bargaining units, and I didn't hear anything back on those. So I'm assuming that the language put together was satisfactory.
Yep.
So that's from the last council meeting. Regarding where we stand with the response to COVID, We've are finalizing all the employee entry procedures for all the buildings. I think we're in pretty good shape with that. We've been making updates to different buildings, installing spit and sneeze guards all over the place. I'll be taking a tour of all of our facilities during this week to make sure that we're compliant with the new guidelines that the mayor or the governor just put out today that we're still going through. But there's a lot more work still to be done before we can bring all the employees back into city operations. But our goal is to start bringing everyone back at a regular pace next week and be ready for operations if the governor opens up, allows us to open up as soon as possible. Don't know if you want to go around and ask the different departments, but Mr. Mayor, that would be all you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koppler. We'll start with Chief Woodcox.
Not much to report. We are still doing very well as a department. We don't have anyone out sick. We have full staffing. We're working at our full staffing levels. We have been operating for the last couple of months under an altered scheduling system that I don't need to go into the details of, but in working with the unions, both command officers and the patrol officers unions, we have decided the best thing to do is to maintain this posture until late June, because it's easier to look back and say, you know what, we extended this a little too long. We can go back to a regular schedule. That's much easier to do than go back to a regular schedule and realize, oops, we should have maintained this posture a little longer. So we're all in agreement until late June. I believe it'd be the 29th. Right now, we're tentatively scheduled to get back to our regular rotations.
Thank you. Mr. Babcock.
Yeah, we are still operating well. All of our employees are healthy, and sorry, just make sure I was unmuted. As everyone is healthy and things are going well. The employees that we've had off on standby, they have been able to respond during. We had some high wind, tree damage. We had to get more employees in. We've had some flooding situations. Some pump station maintenance that we've had to do where we've had to pull in some more additional employees, and they've responded right away. So things are going well. Today was a rough day. Lake St. Clair was very rough, and we had some bad, flooding issues on Jefferson. Just right before this meeting, the waters did start going down, and we were able to open up Jefferson. We still some lane closures, but things are getting better. So we will be continuing to get the water off the roads throughout the night and tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow evening the weather's going to start cooperating better.
And if I could add, through Brian's efforts, we were able to get was it a dam, water dam? Is that what you called it? Over to
Yes.
Gordon Switch. And I don't know, do you have can I share my desktop or my desktop?
Yes.
And I'll just, hopefully this will work, and I'll pull up that picture somewhere here. I don't know, can you see this picture on Gordon Switch?
Yep.
Was that in Italy, Lawrence?
No, not at all. That's here in the St. Clair Shore. So this yellow thing right there is the water dam, if I'm not mistaken. And before this, the water was flowing all the way into, and to the right of the picture is where our pump station is. And it was inundating the pump station there. How long did that take to get up?
It took about an hour to fill it up. So it's pretty quick.
Very good.
Yeah, very good, Brian. That was terrible today. So that's a good fix. Thank you. Mr. Bowman?
Oh, he's muted.
I'm working on it. There you go.
Good evening. We started selling park passes officially today. And we're starting to come in for those. Marinas are still, people are bringing their boats out, getting them into the harbors as soon as they can. So that's going well. A lot of high water though, so we're doing our best. We're trying to see where that is going to stand and see if we need to do more dock overlays. So we're trying to stay on top of that. We replaced the Blossom Heath boat ramp dock with one of them from Loch St. Clair as a temporary fix due to Loch St. Clair's dock was pretty broken and we were not having any luck in repairing it. So that is working very well at the moment. So that's about it.
Thank you. Mr. Pipe, Chief Piper.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Things are going fairly well at the fire department. Everyone's still well and healthy. The PPE continues to roll in through what we've purchased and what we were able to get through the county, through the state emergency management. So all of that is working well. No modifications at the fire department other than a slight modification on the scheduling of our admin assistant. Other than that, of course, we've been running our normal shifts. My focus in admin, we've just been working with other city departments as we're getting ready for these re-entry procedures and making sure that all our city facilities and departments have everything they need. My main focus right now.
All righty, thank you. Anything more, Mr. Gamble, from your end?
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
And Laura, the treasurer, anything from you?
No, I don't have anything tonight either.
Okay, you're working on budget.
I am.
With that, we will move back to comments by individual council people, and we will start with Mr. Frederick.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to say, Mary, we still love you. I don't know if you had anything tonight, but I'd be happy to yield to you for a second if you did. So first off, there are a couple things happening. Macomb County Meals on Wheels partnered with My Deal Graphics in St. Clair Shores, and you can see behind me the shirts that are still available, and a portion of the proceeds are going directly to feeding. Each one sold will feed 2 seniors, and it's mydealgraphics.com meals-on-wheels-store/. So if you want to purchase one, you just go to mydealgraphics.com, find the Meals on Wheels tab, and make your purchase. Free shipping. They'll drop it right off at the house. Next up is just want to make sure everybody's aware that the VFW Bruce Bros drive-through Poppy tent. If you haven't gotten one yet, they're open this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That money goes right back into helping the vets, helping the post, etc. And so anything you can do, they're at council with a little container, but I did get a chance to stop this week, so happy that we got a Poppy to wear. And then we've talked a little bit. There's going to be some signage that's going to appear this week on 9 Mile Road. South Lake, because they didn't have graduation, they didn't have the all-night party, probably not even having graduation party, honors night. So South Lake, they had collected money for the all-night party. They took that money and have purchased a sign for each graduating senior, and those will be placed on 9 Mile this coming week. So we should start seeing tomorrow or the next day. And we're excited for those seniors, and hopefully they're still going to get their scholarships and all of that. So And now, Candace, what do you think is next?
The library.
There you go. So currently the library is closed by executive order. Sorry about that. But all materials that were checked out during the month of February and March, and if you did check anything out from anywhere else, not sure you were able to, would have a return date from April, would have a return date of June 1st and possibly later if necessary. And we'll know more about that at the first meeting in June. Currently the book is closed because the parking lot is not accessible. And then patrons are encouraged to visit the library's website at www.scslibrary.org to explore our digital services, and there's quite a few. And just so you know, library staff is not in the building. However, residents with library-related questions may email the library by clicking on the email us link on the library's website. Again, that's www.scslibrary.org. Or you can actually call the library and leave a message, and those are being retrieved as quickly as possible. That phone number is 771-9020. So email or call if you have any questions for the library. And that's all I have.
And I neglected, before I go to Mr. Vitale, I neglected the CDI director update. He already had a lot of conversation, so I figured he was all tired out, but I forgot him on the updates. Do you have anything? I apologize.
No problem. Thanks, Mayor. I wanted to let you know that Blossom Heath, they're just about done pouring the concrete. We got one more pour left.
Great.
And they'll start landscaping, and hopefully the beach house will be complete. The City Hall parking lot proper is completely poured. We just got to get some striping. The contractor hopes to have it usable by the end of this week. I know the Yardners have something planned for mid-June, so that would be usable for them. And we've also worked out with the county to fix the intersection at 11 Mile and Harper. And hopefully we'll
Thanks, God.
This week if the weather allows. And it's going to be rather difficult with the islands and whatnot to get everybody in there. So it's going to be probably some complaints and a lot of frustration to get through there for a few days. And I'll let you know once I get the exact plan on when that's going to happen. So.
Well, it's sorely needed. I mean, we probably will get complaints, but it's sorely needed.
So that'll be starting, hopefully, like I said, with the weather, maybe next week, but hopefully this week.
Great.
And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Now I'll go back to Mr. Vitale.
Well, I've been in touch with all of you either today or over the weekend. And perhaps being a little philosophical about the direction of council with the passing of Mr. Rubino and knowing that the temperature of council will just undoubtedly change because he won't be there. I thought about maybe the importance of protecting some of what I feel that our current council has done. It's sort of that reform movement occurred 10 years ago. And one of those ideas has been to provide the 2 minutes before council takes a vote. That really only continues at the whim of the council. So I'm actually looking to a day where some of us may not be on council anymore, but I think it's a good policy and I'd like to see it stay around. I think it serves the residents well, and I don't think it's been burdensome. So what I've proposed doing is to codify that through a charter amendment to our city's charter. And unfortunately, the timing on that, I'd like to have it on the federal election ballot. Get that timing. Mr. Erie essentially needs to start working right now. I don't pretend to be a lawyer or play one on TV. Take a stab at writing essentially a couple sentences that I think could be inserted into the section 10.046 council meetings, place, time, journal of proceedings. The sentences would read as follows. Individual members of the public shall be provided with not less than 2 minutes to offer comment before any meeting item requiring a vote of the council. The second period of comment shall be provided after the conclusion of official business to address council on items related to the business of the city. The reason I'm separating those two, both the beforehand and the afterwards, right now, the only thing that really requires a comment session is the Open Meetings Act. They do not spell out the time, and they do not spell out where it would occur in the meeting. I want to preserve both of those because I don't want a future council to say the 2 minutes before a vote on agenda items qualifies as public speak. Because there's going to be issues that come up that are not necessarily on an agenda. It could be that my sidewalk hasn't been fixed correctly, or, you know, I don't think what you did 2 years ago was right. I want to preserve both those comment periods, and I want to codify the speaking before we vote as essentially our city constitution. So we would need to provide direction to the city attorney for that. I'm hoping that we could do that tonight so that he can work on that as quickly as possible, because the language needs to go to the state attorney general by June 10th, something like that, as a kind of a drop dead date. And I guess I'll leave that for discussion. Everybody's going to get a turn except for Mr. Frederick, so I would give time to him if he wishes to address this. And then I will go into a further comment. We had a resident who called in tonight during that 2-minute portion who you know, isn't in love with the Zoom format. I would like to say, frankly, I'm not either. What you mentioned about larger venues, something that I've said myself, but my hope is that actually on June 1st, we may be back in the chamber. So not really worth setting up special in Civic Arena or something like that for one more meeting. And I would tell that resident that there are many people on council. You don't necessarily see everything at these meetings, but there's, of course, we talk among ourselves, and we've all kind of agreed we're not going to put anything that is a major policy change or anything that we would want to hide away from public view. So why a lot of these Zoom meetings have been rather short. It's basically we're just paying bills, doing things that are necessary by the high water emergency, doing things, I suppose, that are required by the COVID. But I guess I wanted to provide that reassurance. And I hope that this charter amendment is something that we can get on federal election ballot. We've frankly given up so many liberties and so many freedoms. I would give the residents the chance to secure a right to speak to their elected representatives before we vote. And that's nothing about anyone who's here right now. It could be the makeup of a city council 10 years from now. So I guess that's about it. I'll just say beyond that, you know, if there's businesses that want to open and you want to invite a city councilman to your opening, I'll come. That's all I have.
Mr. Erie, did you want to make a comment?
If we're going to make a charter change, it's important to note that if we that I am presuming that we're talking about 2 minutes prior to the agenda and 5 minutes under audience participation. Once that's in the charter, of course, it will remain that those time periods until it's changed by a vote of the people. And I'm also presuming that this will be for regularly scheduled city council meetings only. It won't be for planning commission, ZBA. It won't be, for example, if we have a special council meeting over at one of the high school auditoriums, city council may wish to have audience participation limit to 3 minutes or 4 minutes, but the charter will only pertain to regularly scheduled city council meetings. Those are the presumptions that I'm working under.
I think that's
well. To respond to that, I mean, I suppose I would. One reason I didn't specify a time limit for the second comment period was kind of just exactly what the city attorney mentioned. I think if a future council were to limit that to a minute or something, that they would really be playing with the spirit of the Open Meetings Act law. I don't think that would be wise. But at the same time, if there were a circumstance where, perhaps the audiovisual portion at high school or something like that, maybe there would be some reason we couldn't do the full 5 minutes, but we'd have to have some portion anyways. And no, it is not my intent to superimpose this over committees. It is for council meetings.
Is the charter provision, excuse me for not raising my hand, but is the charter provision intended to have a time period or to leave that open?
I specified 2 minutes because I think that time, a lot of times residents don't even use the whole 2 minutes for their particular agenda items. Plus, I think that a lot of times we do get residents, for example, the zoning, changing a zoning for a particular store or something like that, where we might have 15 residents basically coming in and saying they oppose the zoning. I don't think we need to turn that into a multiple of 5. We could keep it to 30 minutes. So I specified no less than 2 minutes and left the second portion vague on purpose. But again, if there's discussion on that, I'm perfectly willing to entertain another idea. If someone wants to, if there's support to add time for the second portion or add time for the first portion or some modification of this, I'm certainly willing to discuss it.
Mr. Frederick?
Thanks, Mayor. And I appreciate you calling back on me since we're in council comments, but I appreciate the transparency. And Chris, I know what you're saying. I think the spirit of when we introduced this was to allow people to say something before we voted. And so I would be in favor of this if we put in there that this would be items that we vote on. I'm not interested in somebody coming into, at the 2 minutes before the meeting to talk about, council comments or something like that, or something else that we don't vote on, like the consent agenda we do vote on. But I guess the whole idea there would be a caveat in there so that if somebody's going to come at the beginning of the meeting for the 2 minutes, they can discuss any items that we would be voting on.
I think that makes good sense.
Okay.
Mr. Isha, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I agree with Ron and Chris. 2 minutes is good at the beginning for voting items, and then 5 at the end is fine. And at least people will have a say so. They have a say, and that's enough to get it out, I believe.
Ms. Rusi?
Thank you. Chris did circulate some proposed language. I do have some suggestions I'll send to him and to council on that. For example, the proposed language, individual members of the public shall be provided not less than 2 minutes to offer comment before any meeting item requiring a vote of council. Sounds like it's written to insert 2 minutes prior to every council agenda item 5, item 6, item 7. I don't believe that's the intent, correct?
Right. No, it's not. And it's tough to word that without end up with a paragraph. I was trying to keep it short, but
right. No. Yeah, I have some ideas reading through it to clarify, I think, the intent of what you want to codify and put before the people to codify officially in the charter. So I'll work on that, send that to council and to Bob too as a suggestion.
I'll look forward to it.
Yep. No, thank you. I think it's important for residents to be allotted the ability to participate and to speak before the items. And I think putting the protection there is a good idea. So thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to Mr. Isha.
Oh, council comments. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the park passes are coming out, does that mean the parks will be open? Will the swing sets be open? Is Mr.
Koppler?
At this point, due to the governor's order, it doesn't allow for the playgrounds to be open, but our anticipation is that come the next executive order that will be loosened.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too.
So we're preparing to be able to do that. But
we have all that brand new playground equipment. it's hard to go to take a walk through the park and your grandson's having a fit because you won't let him on.
Yep.
But yeah, that'll be terrific. It'll get open soon. And really, that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rusi.
Thank you. First off, I want to say thanks to Bob and administration for expediting the demolition of the house on St. Margaret. That's been a topic at the council meeting for months now, and also on Facebook. I think this provides relief and closure to the neighbors on the street and to the families. So thanks for Bob and administration for going above and beyond to get this done as quick as possible under the circumstances. So thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Chris.
Ron.
Hey.
So it could be twins. Yeah, this is again the My Deal Graphics Meals on Wheels fundraiser. So see, twins. I have orange sleeves though. Now you're disappearing. You do that. You're disappearing into your fake Zoom background.
You mean it's not a real library?
And Kip's aware of this, Matt's aware of this. I've spoken with both of them about this. I did put in, so I'm going to make my colleagues where I did put in a request to Mayor Walby. You know, how every year it's a tradition in the city to hang up the United States and city flags along the parade route right before, a week or a few days before the parade. And even though we are unable to have the Memorial Day parade this year, I suggested maybe we should put these out just to commemorate the holiday from a city perspective and also as a morale boosting type of gesture for the community. I know whenever I see these flags out there for the first time every year, I get chills. I mean, it's quite a sight to see dozens and dozens and dozens of flags lining the streets. And we already have the hardware to do it. This is always on DPW schedule every year when we have the parade. And I think just because we don't have the parade, I don't think that's not a reason, that's not a reason not to do this under the circumstances. So I think that would be a really nice thing for our community to celebrate and commemorate and acknowledge the holiday. And also just to, I think we all need a little bit of a boost nowadays. So I did put that request in and I think they're amenable to it. So I think that will be really nice to see. And the resident at the beginning of the meeting spoke about, and I think we saw some of this too, trying to get some of the residents to participate at the initial part of the meeting. I've heard this before from residents watching the meetings too, that there seems to be a lag. I don't know if it's 5 seconds, I don't know if it's 10 seconds, but there's a lag from watching, we see it in real time. I can watch myself speak right now and it's absolutely horrible. And I hate that, it's just awkward, but I guess there's a lag when residents watch this on their computers or on their phones or at home. And given the difficulty now comparatively to the normal procedure for residents when they want to indicate they want to speak, they're sitting in the council chamber, they raise their hand, it's visible, it's immediate, it's real time. Given that they have to dial in and do whatever it is, what is it, Mary? Is it
star 9?
Star 9, and there's a lag, and they have to, if they're on their phone, put up their, where they can push the buttons and do that. Maybe if we can just hang on for just a minute, just to allow the lag and residents who want to participate to be able to pull up their phone, do that, and do everything, and for the information to reach them so they know to do that. That might be a little bit useful for participation if people are not hearing this in real time by a little bit, and just to acknowledge and take account of the additional procedures they have to do to participate versus this at the council meeting, which hopefully this is the last meeting besides tomorrow. We'll be using this. We could be back in council chambers soon. I think that would be really nice. But if we're consigned to this and we have to do this, maybe just wait a minute to see if anyone does indicate before we cut off audience participation. So, and that's about it. I was thinking over the weekend about what this weekend usually is to the community. And this past weekend is usually, I think, the busiest weekend. And we've all know that every year where we have on Saturday Science Olympiad or that's a big county tournament, and a lot of kids in the community and adults in the community are involved as coaches or as involved parents with that. I think we're hoping to have the Blossom Heath Bathhouse ribbon cutting in an alternate universe. St. Isaac Joe Fair, Relay for Life street collection. We were going to do the farmers market, the baseball softball opening, the Nautical Coast cleanup, just for preparations for the parade, which was next week. And it's really, really hit me over the weekend what we would have been doing and what we would have had in our community in an alternate universe, but for COVID and everything going on. And it's just it's sad. It's sad that we weren't able to offer these things for our community. Our community wasn't able to come together like we usually do on this day and celebrate and do so many wonderful things and have, kids be a part of the community. And we're, hundreds of people out there volunteering their time to clean the lake. And it's just, it was sad. It was sad to realize what we lost this year. So just thinking of everybody who worked so hard, hoping those events could go on and they had to be canceled, and thanking the volunteers, the parade volunteers too, who put in a lot of work, the parade committee, who put in a lot of work since the last parade to try to bring the biggest and best parade to the city for 2020. Won't be able to see that go down the street. Just thinking of everybody, and I hope we can be together soon and celebrate our community like we usually do at this time, because we have a great community and it's full of great people and a lot of volunteers, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again at some point, hopefully in the very near future, because it would be nice to be able to do these things again. And it'd be really nice to be able to sit in council chambers with you guys again. So looking forward to that. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy, and hope to see you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen.
Thank you. First, Ron's stealing all my technology tricks during these meetings. Hearing that. So, hey, wanted to give as spring finally arrived here in the city, as you drive around, see a lot of red tulips that pop up. Basically, the bulk of those all came from First State Bank that were donated to the Beautification Commission over the last several years. Like each year, they give us a few hundred more, and we keep spreading them around. So you see those red tulips around the city, they're probably coming from First State Bank, and we're greatly appreciative of all the donations they gave to beautification over the years. So with that, let's see, a couple of issues. First, the green structure at Kite Monroe. I am still waiting to hear a maintenance plan from Parks and Rec and how that's going to get regularly weeded and tended to. We had volunteers that planted a lot of seedlings last year that were all tagged so that we knew what were the actual plants versus weeds, and all the tags vanished a couple weeks ago. So we're not sure what's actually coming up now. So need to get that plan from Parks and Rec and how that's going to get maintained. That. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And actually, just during the meeting, a resident on Facebook had asked regarding Jefferson traffic. As now we're, definitely going to be probably the most of this week with the onshore winds. But as we get into the next several weeks, we're probably going to be in regular closures of Jefferson. Could Brian and DPW maybe make kind of, as they know the roads have to get closed, maybe get detour signs out at Martin to let people know the road's closed ahead, use Martin, or if they're coming southbound at 12 Mile, hey, road's closed ahead, use 12 Mile to get those out at the same time. Rather than, I know last year we went through this where, people got to the road closed, they cut through the side streets. It's better that we can funnel that traffic down some of the major streets.
Yeah.
I think we can get those fairly made up fairly quickly, right?
Yeah. That's something that we're going to be talking about tomorrow morning as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Last thing I've got, we all got word last week that Eagle Environment, Great Lakes Energy Department had planned on issuing denial for the Chapadon expansion, which is all part of the big project that we've got with the Public Works Office here in Macomb. to reduce the amount of overflows we have into the lake by 75%. And it's several communities are, us, East Point, Roseville, all in on this one together to try to reduce what we're discharging into the lake. They stated what their reasons are. Nobody likes their reasons. No one thinks they're really valid. So, but there is opportunity for us to comment back. So actually today, Candace Miller on her Facebook page, she did post how people can comment back to EGLE to, not deny it, to actually approve the project so we can go ahead with it and protect our lake. And there will also be a public comment webinar on June 18th at 6 p.m. There's a link on Candace's page today. I clicked on it, registered. You can actually put in there that you wish to speak during that as part of the public comment. So I can get that link off her site and send it out to everyone on council. I think it'd be good for all of us to be able to participate that night if we could. And also on that, Commissioner Kleinfeld had called me before the meeting. Harold Howe, who's the county commissioner from Roseville, actually has proposed a resolution from the county asking the governor to intercede with EGLE to approve the permit. And the county is going to take up that resolution on Thursday. So I think we can probably take that same resolution, take the county name out of it, put our name in it, and have that on our next council meeting agenda 1st of June. So we can have that part of the public record going back up to the state as well.
Great.
And
That'd be
that,
great. Yep.
So I think, so as many people are out there, get the word out of the public comment period. We've seen what public comments we've gotten back on the permits that we've asked for before. There's never many. If they get flooded with a bunch of comments saying, no, go ahead and approve it, I think they're going to get forced to in that. And if not, we're going to have to plead to the governor to override them and that. But we've got to make sure this project goes through. It's the first significant improvement we've gotten for the quality of our lake in probably 45 years in terms of what the type of impact that could have, and we've got to get it through. So that's it. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Great idea.
Item 10, city manager report.
Don't have anything for tonight.
Okay, we'll move to audience participation. The audience participation, 5 minutes. You can speak, dial in 312-626-6799. The meeting code is 885-0560-5346 #, and dial 9 or raise your hand. Views and opinions expressed under audience participation are those of the individual citizen only, do not represent the views and opinions of the mayor, city administration, and the city's stores. With that, we have a couple people online, so someone want to speak under audience participation? Under 330 or 133 117. Have an email 117. Can you unmute 117?
They're on.
Yes, I can hear you. A little odd doing it this way, but hey, it's working. This is Dave Rebello. I reside at 30007 Mason, looking out over my street right now. So it's all working out. Peter Asia, congratulations.
Thanks,
good
Dave.
Man. You deserve that, Mayor Pro Tem. Good for you.
Thank you.
And I want to congratulate you on that. And it's a good decision because I was down at the lake too, and that water level is very high, so it's good to try to take the fight to the lake. Even though the lake's pretty tough to beat, at least you guys aren't sitting there waiting in a reactionary mode. And Chris, it was a nice idea to permanently put the 2 minutes and try to get that in a permanent fixture in the city charter. So I'm glad for that. And Candace, I'm just watching this and listening on the phone. The lag time is probably more like a minute, but like you said, if this is the last one, it doesn't make much a difference. So, the flags, great idea. remember, it's all about the spirit of Memorial Day, and it goes forward. But you're right, that 2020 parade was the best parade that no one's ever going to see. So we're looking forward to doing it again next year. And Ron, watch the riptide behind you over there, okay? Don't lean back on your chair. Mayor, on a note, I'm getting being on the activities committee. We obviously put the concerts in the park on, and it's getting close to June when we were supposed to start. And a lot of questions coming in here, and not sure what direction. I don't know what we're going to do, but a lot of people want to know about that and what we got planned for the park, if anything. I mean, obviously, everybody's been cutting back on these types of activities in public places, so not sure which direction to go or what to tell the folks.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Ravello?
No, I think that was about it.
Okay. I guess I haven't had a chance to talk to council. I did talk to Greg Hillman. Greg Hillman is part of the Petaprin. He's obviously we all know that Petaprin has been the sponsor of the concerts for the past 29 years. Greg Hillman, who does work for Petaprin, organizes it all for us and does a fantastic job. And I did speak to Greg Hillman, as I have for the last couple of weeks. And you're asking me the correct question, and so I mean you kind of put me a little bit on the spot, but I'm going to say the answer, even though this is I don't always like to do this because this is the first council's had it. But speaking to Greg Hillman on Friday, representing Petaprin, and I don't think this is a shock. They're a little fearful to have such crowds. As you know, these have turned into thousands of people into the park, thousands. And they're a little fearful, and they don't feel comfortable this year doing the concerts. And so they'll be back and stronger next year. But at this point, we're not going to have the concerts. Again, Petaprin has been great for 29 years. And what can you say? It's a terrible time. I mean, Ms. Rusi already acknowledged the fact of all these events being canceled, and happen not to say the concerts, but I think we all knew that it was probably coming. But it's a partnership between the city and Petaprin, and we love Petaprin, right? We love their Budweiser and the Michelob. It's the Ultra Michelob series that they put on, and it's not going to happen this year, unfortunately. And I know they feel bad about it. Obviously, we feel bad about it, but it's the way it is this year. So I think that answers the question. It's terrible, but it is what it is. The activities committee is meeting this week, and we are. We still don't know what there may be some changes. Maybe we'll be able to do something in August, put something on to do something where we don't want to give up. I've throughout this time tried to be slow in canceling anything because we wanted to see how it was. I know I'm having those discussions with the city manager. We both were on the same page of like going slow, not going way out to Labor Day and just cancel everything. So we've been slow because we don't know. Maybe we think things will change and get better and try to keep them. So that's why we've been slow. And again, this discussion came Friday afternoon with them, and so I actually was going to deliver to the activities, which the meeting was on Thursday. But that's the story on that. It's too bad, but again, we can't say enough about Petaprin and what they have done for this community on these concerts. So we'll definitely see them in 2020. I think that was the only question. Anyone else raise their hand under that? Mary, do you have anything? Do you have any emails? Do we have anyone else here? Oh, wait.
Mayor, I have 6 resident emails to read under audience participation.
Okay.
I could do the first one while we're waiting, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
Alyssa Burkowski, resident of St. Clair Shores. I'm in full support of owning urban chickens. Most of the common concerns of noise, cleanliness, and attraction of rodents has been debunked. The noise is very minimal without a rooster. They produce less feces than a dog and cat, and they actually help by eating insects. I think with the proper rules and permits set in place, backyard chickens can be had. We can explore the permits of nearby cities such as East Point, Ferndale, Royal Oak, and adopt one of our own, especially in a time when everyone is cautious of going to the store. It would be nice to walk into my backyard and collect eggs for my breakfast. Our next resident is Camille Collar. After speaking with fellow members of our newly formed St. Clair Shores Backyard Chickens Facebook, it was recommended that a face-to-face meeting would be the best avenue for presenting information regarding joining many other local urban cities who allow backyard hens for laying eggs. I look forward to keeping in touch to attend future in-person meetings, as well as presenting to you and the community the wonderful benefits and opportunities that backyard chickens can bring to the community. Our next resident is, or non-resident is Alyssa Sullivan, Hazel Park Mayor Pro Tem. I am writing to you today as a fellow elected official and as an advocate of both the environment and backyard chickens. I speak from a novel position with education and experience, resources for the positive aspects of backyard chickens, as well as thorough knowledge of public health and safety concerns. My unique perspectives comes to me from my experience as a former vet tech, a former living science para-pro, formerly initially reluctant house hen caregiver, outreach organizer, and current mayor pro tem of a community who has had backyard chickens since the 40s, with zero complaints or issues to date. I look forward to building a relationship with your community leaders and being able to present and discuss with your city leadership the benefits and facts around this fun, progressive opportunity. I also look forward to sharing with you all the experience and positive changes I've been lucky enough to participate in and witness surrounding backyard chickens. Chickens and their care can be such a wonderful part of a modern life and neighborhoods. I appreciate your time and look forward to speaking with you in the future. Our next resident is Bill Van Heck. Hello, Mayor. I had no idea how to go about this. Could you please ask our esteemed mayor and council consider our backyard chicken proposal when the quarantine is over? We are still doing our homework for the best presentation possible. Our next resident is Kim Cesars. I apologize if I misspoke your name. Resident of St. Clair Shores. I would just like to state my opinion on backyard chickens. I've read a lot of material about keeping chickens, pros and cons. I think they would be beneficial for all of us to be able to keep them within reason. I would love the opportunity to raise them and feed my family with fresh eggs. Thank you for your time. Then I have Ronald Manningham. Council members, where can citizens get bags to fill with sand to help reduce water damage? Has the city developed a resiliency task force? Who is involved and participants? Are there any non-city employees, civilian participants? What is being done to assist our citizens in regard to food, public safety, and financial assistance? That is our last emailed one, and there is one resident with their hand up.
All right, unmute them, please. Thank you.
I did.
Hi there. Just for clarity, I'm actually not a resident. I am Laura Mikulski. I'm calling from the city of Ferndale, where I am a city council member. And I'm sure you haven't heard enough about backyard chickens in this conversation. So I'm here to say a little bit more about it, because I was the squeaky wheel that sort of gave Ferndale the idea of having backyard chickens. And we have had an ordinance in place since 2012. I'm not going to go too deep into how our ordinance is structured, but I can tell you that our ordinance has been so successful that we have had literally 0 complaints from any resident even with our tiny backyards, our very narrow lots. There's been no issues with noise. In general, our ordinance stipulates that you can't have roosters, you can only have hens. And just for clarity, with hens, they don't crow the way that roosters do. In fact, we actually measured the average decibel level just to make sure that people were very comfortable with these backyard hens. So it's around about 70 decibels, which, just for some perspective, is less noisy than a vacuum and just 10 decibels above a normal conversation. So obviously that sort of thing drops off dramatically the farther out you go. And that was measured up close when a hen was cackling, because she laid an egg, and you can't really blame her for cackling when you lay an egg. Beyond that, I just wanted to express that in general, people are very concerned, and I was reached out to because people are concerned about food sovereignty, local food, going into grocery stores. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and it kind of makes sense to start thinking about what kinds of business can be done differently and to revisit this. I know that your commission, I believe it was your ordinance commission, had just visited the backyard chicken issue, and it was decided that you didn't want to move forward after Jeff Randazzo spoke against them and basically said that there were some issues and some concerns regarding the avian flu. And with the avian flu, there needs to be a knowledge base there that the flu doesn't just develop out of nowhere. And I think this is something that we can all relate to because we're in a pandemic right now. The virus has to come from a source. So any good backyard chicken ordinance is something that would actually have to stipulate that those chickens need to be contained away from wild animals. The main vector being typically like a goose or a duck, something that's migratory. That's usually how it spreads. It gets into feed, it gets into water, the chickens share it, so on and so forth. I won't belabor the point. I think there's a lot of support out there for this. I was invited to a Facebook group concerning backyard chickens. I would invite all of you to visit our ferndalechickens.com website, where we have compiled all the ordinances in the local area concerning backyard chickens, as well as, different ideas concerning coops and the myths surrounding chickens. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. My email address is lmikULSKI@ferndalemi.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, I have one more email that has just come through. From Ken Swetka. This is not about chickens. How are berm height enforcements being handled? Today we had a very high breach on Corber, which flooded the neighborhood. I have 8 pumps going into the canal all day. Also, the large pump did not come on, so we also started flooding from the street. It has been a frustrating day, and I suspect it will continue for the next day.
And I think I sent to Mr. Gamble and Mr. Koppler today regarding Corber, so they'll be investigating Corber tomorrow. So I don't know if that's specific one, but we'll be investigating Corber tomorrow. So anyone else? Seeing none, we'll go back to Mayor's. Pardon me? We'll go back to Mayor's comments, and I just had one item. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day. Right? We'd be going down Harper Avenue on the parade, but we won't have that opportunity this year. So I wanted to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day and thank the veterans who served this country so honorably the men and women who serve it today and who've served it in the past. And matter of fact, it's we just passed a few days ago VE Day. VE Day would have been the 75th anniversary of victory in Europe, the greatest generation. And as we know, we're losing them daily. So thank a veteran when you see one, and we are grateful to them for they provide us and have provided for us our freedom for all these many years. So I just wanted to wish all Americans a great Memorial Day. And with that, we'll a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Mr. Frederick, supported by Mr. Karen.
Support, anyway.
Moved by Mr. Frederick to adjourn. That's an aye.
Support.
Aye.
Mr. Karen? Aye, he's on mute. Candace Rusi, she votes aye. Vice Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Asha?
Aye.
Walby votes aye. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.